All right, I think we're good to go here, everyone. So hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Savannah Newton, and I'm the new female high performance coach at Hockey Nova Scotia. I will be providing a brief introduction tonight before I pass things over to our honorable guests. This event, the National Women's Team Coaches Hot Stove, is the first official event we, as Hockey Nova Scotia, are co-hosting with Hockey Canada in advance of the upcoming and highly anticipated 2021 IIHF Women's World Hockey Championship coming to Nova Scotia this May. This event aims to support our Nova Scotia coaching community, whether you are currently coaching or wishing to become one, by connecting everyone with the staff, athletes, and resources of the national program. We have guests joining us tonight from not only our province, but from all over Canada, eager to learn more about coaching women and girls in the sport we love. Hockey Nova Scotia is committed to growing and enhancing the female game. My specific role is new and developed specifically to help grow the female game at the grassroots level and to help elevate the game at the provincial level to prepare players for the national level. I am also responsible for helping to make female coach development opportunities and resources more widely available for coaches who coach females. We, as Hockey Nova Scotia, are incredibly grateful to be supported by and united with Hockey Canada in this pursuit to grow the female game. You are all encouraged to submit questions tonight, and as such, you have all collectively framed tonight's conversation. At the end of the hot stove, we will also announce 3 winners of the Hockey Canada prizes for early registration before all the questions have been answered, after all the questions have been answered. Now, without further ado, I am thrilled to announce tonight's moderator. She is a Juno nominated musician and an award-winning television host who can be seen co-hosting Rogers Hometown Hockey on Sportsnet, as well as at the helm of the new female-focused series, Top of Her Game. She is born in Montreal, but she was raised in Wolfville and Halifax, Nova Scotia. Fellow coaches, please join me in welcoming our Nwt Coaches Hot Stove moderator, Tara Slone.
Savannah, thank you so very much. I am incredibly honored to have been asked to participate tonight. And I have to say, when I was a teenager in Nova Scotia, really only understanding hockey from the perspective of watching the NHL. I graduated a long, long time ago from Queen Elizabeth High School. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that I would be helping facilitate something designed to inspire the next generation of girls and women in the game. So I'm very proud to be here, and in particular, a proud Nova Scotian to be doing this with Hockey Nova Scotia. So we have lots to get to, of course, this evening, lots of questions, and I have lots of questions too myself. So I will introduce our esteemed guests in no particular order, but I'm going to start with the players tonight. We have Olympic silver medalist Sarah Nurse. We have Olympic gold and silver medalist Natalie Spooner. We have Olympic silver medalist from Stellarton, Nova Scotia, Blayre Turnbull. And we have the national women's team head coach, Troy Ryan, from Spryfield, Nova Scotia, down the road from my dad. And we have from New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, the national women's team assistant coach, Kori Cheverie. Welcome to all of you.
Thanks. I feel left out not being from Nova Scotia here.
I'm sorry. Listen,
I know, who let us in?
You're awesome enough to be from Nova Scotia. So let's call you honorary, and you certainly will be representing hardcore in May when you're there for the World. So most of these questions I'm going to direct specifically, but I want to get this first question out to all of you because it is about inspiring the next generation. And I want to know from your perspective, and Blayre, I will start with you. Your favorite childhood coach or coaches, what do you think their qualities were and what inspired you about them? Or what did they do to inspire you, I guess?
Well, when I think back to my minor hockey days, I can remember having so much fun at the rink and with my teammates. But at the same time, I remember going to the rink with a purpose, and that purpose was to develop and to get better as a team and as an individual. And I think the best coaches I had at the minor hockey level were people who, aside from my family and my teachers, they taught me and coached me how to be a good person. They taught me how to work hard and how to have good habits on the ice and off the ice. And they really did a great job of finding the balance between making sure that we understood all of those important things, but they also made sure that we were having a lot of fun so that we continuously wanted to be back at the rink.
I like hearing the word fun. And I have to say, I've interviewed so many of your colleagues, and that is always part of the equation. Nat, would you agree?
For sure. I mean, I think like for me, when I think back to my, I even now when I'm playing, I have to think back to like those youth days and just how much fun I was having on the ice. And remember, like it is a game and we're out there to have fun, but at the same time, you can be learning through that. And I think some of the most special moments when I think of, maybe it was even when a coach pushed me a little bit and I surprised myself and I did something that I never thought I could have done. And so I think that there's so much growth at that young age that it's such an exciting time that a lot of kids will surprise you as the coach at what they have, how resilient they are, how much they can push themselves. But at the same time, obviously, it's all about fun too at that age and just making sure they love the game and they grow that passion. And I think if you can get that passion in those kids early, like it's going to take them far and they're going to be lifelong hockey players. I mean, you think about everyone that plays hockey, they end up a beer league hockey player. So everyone still plays. There's no one that really stops playing hockey for very long.
Sarah, what about you? What inspired you when you were young?
I think when I look back on my coaches that I had, and I think creating and establishing connections with the kids you coach is really important, because I think back and I'll tell my parents like, oh, who was your favorite coach growing up? And I'll say who it was. And my dad's like, oh, well, you learned so much from him. You learned this, that, and the other. And I don't remember what I learned from that coach. I remember how good of a person that coach was. And I remember how that coach made me feel. And I think that's something that like transcends hockey and is really just something that happens in life. Like you may not remember how many goals you score or what you do, but you remember how somebody makes you feel. And so I think that was something that is really important for me.
I could not agree more. Kori, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, playing minor hockey in New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, playing a lot of road hockey as well. I thought that having fun was definitely at the priority for me as a kid, but I was also very, very competitive. So, the coaches who were able to push me, maybe tell me to tone it down a little bit here and there. I always kind of look back on those experiences and really cherish them. And I think that I really pull some of those experiences I had into my coaching now. So it was a great experience for me.
Troy, obviously, when you're coaching at the highest level, it's a little bit different. But what lessons from your younger age do you pull into what you do now?
Yeah, I would say they're all very similar to the comments that have been made. I think any of the good coaches that I had when I was younger used hockey as a bit of a vehicle for providing life lessons, but also providing some life experiences. And through hockey, I got to probably be exposed to some people or to see some things that I never otherwise would have had the opportunity to experience or learn those life lessons. So any of the good coaches I had took it more as a life experience. So very similar. And I would say that even at the higher levels of coaching, a lot of things are very, very similar for sure.
Kori, for you, why coaching? Why was it important for you to make the jump from player to coach?
I thought it was a pretty natural progression. I think near the end of my playing career, I started to shift more into really wanting to help kind of the younger players coming up. And I was becoming a veteran on the team, and I really loved kind of the strategy around it. And So I thought, I can't play the game forever, but I can definitely stay involved forever. And so that's the path that I chose, and it's been great.
What to you is the difference between coaching men and women, or girls and boys?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I get asked it a lot, to be honest. And I kind of think back into early in my coaching career with the men's program at Ryerson. And, I thought I had to be kind of this strong, stoic woman who knew all the answers. And it wasn't until I realized that I just needed to be my true self with all of my athletes, whether they were male or female, that I really started seeing the benefits in me as a coach. And to be honest, I don't treat the men or the women any different. I want them to take risks. I want them to be curious about the game. I want them to be students of the game. And I think that that's how I approach it. And, right now, I think I'm still one of the only females coaching on the men's side of the game full time. So, it's kind of, I kind of take it as pride and something that I want to continue to move forward. And so that hopefully we can see a coach in the near future, a female coach on an NHL bench, or a part of a men's pro team as well, because I think that we've got so many women on this call who are breaking barriers and continuing to, create that trail and set the path for everybody else is something that I'm really invested in.
All right, well, don't get me started on that, because it's about time. I'm wondering from the players here, if you're talking to the people who are watching tonight, what are some of the misconceptions perhaps about people who have spent time coaching women? Nat, start with you.
I guess misconceptions would probably be that, I don't think you need to totally change the game when you're coming to coach women, right? It's the game of hockey, and we want to be, coached at that highest level. We want to know, everything that there is. If there's skills, and we're going to learn them. Like, we want to be coached the same. And I really don't think there's that much. Maybe the misconception is, we're more emotional. Maybe we may cry when we win. We may cry when we lose, but hey, we're excited about it. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard too many misconceptions, so I can't say what exactly they are. But I think as players, we just want, the same. We want to be treated the same, coached the same, feel like we have those same opportunities.
And for all three of you current players, you all do so much work with kids and coaching and inspiring the next generation. And so Nat, I'll stay with you. Like, why is that important to you?
You know what? I think when I was growing up, I obviously had great coaches and great teammates. And I was lucky enough to, I played for Durham West Lightning growing up here outskirts of Toronto. And I played with, Jennifer Wakefield. I played with Tara Watchorn, and players that pushed me every day. And now, I look at those young kids, and they're so good that when I meet young kids, they say, oh, I want to be like you, or I want to be like Sarah Nurse. I want to be like Blayre Turnbull. I say, you're going to be way better than us. You don't want to be us. You're going to be 10 times better than us, because first of all, like, these kids are growing up, they're using composite sticks from a young age. Even now we have girls, I look at Lauren Gable comes in and can fire pucks because they never used a 2-piece stick. So I think that, those young kids, it's so important to keep developing them and for them to keep having that dream. And for us, especially right now during the times that we're in, and us playing for the PWHPA and fighting for that professional league, it may not be in our time, but it's going to be in their time, and they're going to have that opportunity to have it as a full-time career. And I know women's hockey is a bit, we're at a double-edged sword right now, where girls are still having to work and play hockey. And I think when we can get that league and have it be fully professional, the level of women's hockey is going to take off to a whole other level. And there's going to be just such a bigger pool of women to choose from. So I think it's exciting for women's hockey, but I think that it's so important to keep developing those grassroots and to put that passion in those kids early and get them to love the game as much as we love it. We love it so much that we want everyone to play if they could.
Blayre, what do you see when you work with young girls, when you and Jill are running your camps? Are you seeing the same thing, just an astonishing level of skill?
Yeah, obviously a ton of skill. But the thing that surprises me the most is just how many girls there are that play hockey and that love the game. I think back to growing up in Nova Scotia in a small town and going to hockey camps in the summer. And it was myself and maybe 2 other girls, but the rest of the camp was filled up with boys. And now, like you mentioned, Jill and I are able to run our own camp in Nova Scotia that's exclusively for girls, and it fills up. And there's tons of minor hockey leagues now across the province and throughout Canada that are only for girls. So the amount of young girls that play hockey and love the game and want to continue to get better and who aspire to one day play on the national team and to have the opportunity to play hockey as a professional, it really blows me away to see how far the game has come, but also remembering how far the game can still go. It's pretty cool to think about, and we can only hope that it continues to grow and that someday the young girls who are at our hockey camps are playing in a professional league.
Sarah, part of propelling the next generation to be as good and then better than this generation is to create the right environment. And you talk about, having fun and being good people. So how do you best nurture a positive team culture and environment?
Yeah, I think when we talk about inclusion, as like the leaders, as coaches, as people in positions of power, I think we really need to examine and have an awareness of, do I have an inclusive team? Do I have an inclusive organization? And really be honest with yourself, because a lot of people be like, oh yeah, we're inclusive. We've checked all the boxes. Well, have you? I know that we've been talking about doing work, doing research, really understanding. I think biases is a real important thing. I know for me, I'm not a perfect human. I have biases as well. And so it's understanding that and then, taking steps to do something about that. But something that I've actually done recently is really look to learn about different groups of people. And the example that I guess I use is I've been looking into the transgender community actually, and why people have pronouns in their social media, their Instagram bios, whatever it be. And people don't understand the significance and how much that helps the transgender community. And so by me doing research on that, I guess I was being more inclusive because I was understanding inclusive a little more. And so if you're a male who's looking to coach females, or you have a female on your team, like, you need to learn and kind of understand females. If you're looking to have Black or Indigenous players on your team or people within your organization, you need to have some sort of understanding of those people. And so I'd really say, like, it's doing the work and it's not cheating, because people know when it's not genuine and when you cheat it a little bit.
I mean, that's huge. And I know there are a lot of initiatives in place. I know Hockey Nova Scotia is a leader in this department. And I know Hockey Canada is obviously doing great work. Troy, though, I'm going to put you on the spot because you are a man coaching a women's senior team. So I guess what work have you put in? What work do you think we all need to put in?
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely a work in progress for everybody, and including myself, without a doubt. What I've tried to do with every team that I've been involved, definitely more so recently, is this has become a very popular topic and something that needs to be worked on immediately, is just do my best to create a safe environment where my athletes or coaching staffs or people that I work with feel comfortable that they can express themselves and can come to me if they feel they need to come to me. So, and I would agree 100% with Sarah. Like, I personally, as a coach, have to do a better job of creating that right type of environment and making sure that we are creating an inclusive environment. And I definitely wouldn't say that I'm there yet. And I'm definitely not an expert, but I think I have, for the most part, created a pretty safe environment for my athletes to express themselves.
And Kori, I guess I'll pose the same question. Where do you think we all, but you specifically in the roles that you hold, need to do the most digging in?
Yeah, I think that having conversations with your athletes, I think the open communication is so key, and sometimes those conversations aren't easy. But I think what happens from it is you start to build that trust. You start to build that safe environment, like Troy has talked about, and then you also gain the respect of everybody around you because you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to have those conversations when sometimes it's not easy. And so I think that, Troy said it really well in that at a time where this is a heightened topic, we're doing our best to try to create that safe space and have the conversation with our athletes and have that open line, because that's really the only way that you get buy-in from whether you're trying to win a gold medal, whether you're trying to talk about a conversation that's difficult, or whether you're just trying to strengthen your connection. So I think that communication is definitely key.
Before we move on, I want to just offer Blayre and Natalie the chance to talk about this if either of you are inspired or if something hasn't been said, or we can just move on.
Yeah, I'll just add that I think a huge part of all of that is really getting to know the people you're around on more than just a surface level type of friendship, or if you're a teammate, or if it's a coach to player relationship. I think the more that you can create a positive and actual genuine relationship with all of your teammates and colleagues, the safer the environment will be. And the people will feel more included and, like I said, safer if they can trust that you actually care about who they are as a person, and not just a kind of, like Nursey said, cheating and just respecting them on the surface. I think it's really on you as a coach or as a teammate or as somebody in a leadership position to really get to know everybody who you're around on a deep level and understand their needs and what makes them feel safe and feel included.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. I think like everything is awesome, like that's been said. Like I think like some of the best teams that I've been on are the ones where, everyone understands each other and has like that respect, but also the coaches are open. And also they accept everyone for who they are. Obviously everyone is going to be so different. Like I'm pretty loud sometimes. There's some players that are much quieter. It's about accepting those players for who they are and what they bring to the table. I mean, if we had a whole team of Blayre Turnbulls or a whole team of Nursey, I don't think you would have as good of a team as when you have, 23 different people. So I think that it's almost about appreciating what everyone brings and realizing that and being grateful for it. And then that's going to build your relationships and make your team that much closer.
If coaches out there, want to put all of this into action, but I guess focus on more than just hockey, develop the intangibles that make you who you are, resilient and strong. And how do you work on that stuff if you're a coach? Well, Nat, we can go back to you.
Okay. So for me, I think, at a young age, it's about exposing the kids to so many different opportunities. And like I said, some kids are going to surprise you. And for me, I think of like 3 intangibles. The first one we've talked about, being a good person, being a good teammate, and making sure that comes first. Second is you want to set kids up to take control of their future, of their training. And I know on our team, we talk about impacting the red, and it's those days when you're not with your team. What are those little things that you could be doing, to improve your skills? So when I think of that, like obviously through COVID too, there's been a lot of times where you haven't been able to be around people or been around a team. So I think as a coach, it's about, being able to inspire kids to sometimes take the reins on their own and not always be, telling them everything they need to do. But, if it's, if they come off and they did something wrong, maybe it's, hey, what else could you have done then? Or what did you see then that you could have done? Not saying like, you should have done this, you should have just turned back. And then the third one I would say is obviously having a growth mindset and that work ethic. And we talk about on our team, having a scientist brain. So, when things aren't going wrong, kids may get frustrated at not being able to do a new drill or something, but it's about having that scientist brain that, hey, they didn't come up with the vaccine for COVID in 3 tries, right? It may have took them 100. I don't even know how many it took, but it could have taken way more than that. And it's about having that scientist brain that like, keep going, because you're eventually going to get there. But it may not come easy, and you can't get, it's about overcoming adversity and not getting down on yourself so quick. And I think that, for kids to learn that too early on, they're going to be able to go so far. And hopefully coming out of this, I think we'll have some pretty kids that are pretty resilient. But I think on the ice for sure, like just having a good mindset and instilling that good mindset into your team.
Blayre and Sarah, anything to add to that particular thought about the intangibles, coaching intangibles as opposed to just hockey? Just hockey.
I feel like that was great, Spoons. Like, I feel like I know how to coach the intangibles now, so thank you.
Well, I'm going to ask Kori and Troy. I'll go to you. And I mean, obviously, we all learn from our mistakes. And I'm wondering if, early in your coaching career or even recently, if there are sort of some mistakes that you feel like you made and have since corrected. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, so don't feel obligated to answer, but I do think that's stuff.
Want me to go first, Troy?
I
feel like
have a long list.
Yeah, I've got a long list of mistakes that I can go over here, but I think I'll go kind of with more of a mindset about mistakes. First of all, Spoons, that was great on all the intangibles. Good job. But with the mistakes list, I think that, when you're trying to be a high performer, you're trying to be at the highest level you can be, mistakes are going to happen. Coaches make mistakes, players make mistakes, parents make mistakes. And I think that kind of having that resilient mindset and being able to rebound after a mistake is key. I know in the past, I've really let, what if I was doing a presentation and I fumbled over my words, I would really let that sit with me. And now we don't have time to be worried about the mistakes that we've made. All we can do is reflect and think about how can I improve for the next time that I get the opportunity. And I think that that's something for me as a coach that I've put a lot of emphasis on is, taking that kind of exploration approach and learning from, fumbles and getting better each and every time. And I think that has really helped me with my coaching career.
I do want to come back to that with everybody in terms of coaching and how to help instill that in kids. Because now what you were saying, the scientist mindset, I have an 11-year-old daughter who was supposed to start hockey this year, but couldn't, who's incredibly hard on herself. And I know what it's like to have a hard time getting over perfectionist tendencies. So I'm going to come back to that, but Troy, you're not off the hook. I'm wondering what some of the greatest lessons that you have learned are.
Yeah, I think early in my career, I probably, I don't know how to word it maybe, but I probably thought more about myself and my career and trying to make a career of it. And I think along the way, I probably handled some situations that I wish I had back because I was more worried about me advancing. And I guess ultimately I started to have more success individually as a coach when I completely shifted my focus to care more about sort of athletes' development or even people that I was working with their development. And I found it's been a complete 180 where now that's what I enjoy most. I enjoy seeing an athlete get it. I enjoy seeing a coach that I work with get it. And so that's probably the biggest thing. I think when I was younger, if I could have some of those days back, I would probably have had this approach earlier on.
It's good for all of us, no matter what you do for a living, right? I think it's important. So I will go to the players now and talk about that. I mean, you all talked about a safe environment, and that's the only environment where people can feel okay falling and getting back up and falling and getting back up. But when you're dealing with young people, yeah, how are you best able to encourage them to make mistakes and also get over, when somebody scored the winning goal on you or you missed a, I don't know, penalty shot? How do you get over that stuff? Sarah, let's start with you.
Well, I think it's important to note that that's still something that we still are working on as players. We're definitely not perfect. And then when you take it from like a coaching lens, like it is difficult. But I think it's reframing mistakes. I know my first year after the Olympics in the CWHL, one of my coaches was just like, you have to look at mistakes almost as like taking the risk, and it's either going to work out or you're going to be able to like learn from it. And so it's reframing your actions, I guess. Like we actually talked about it from a mental performance standpoint as challenge versus threat during the Olympic year. And it's like how you view a situation as a challenge or a threat. Like if a coach is giving you feedback on something, are you looking at that as the coach attacking you, or are you looking at it as a challenge viewpoint where it's like, okay, no, they expect this out of me. They expect that I can do this, and they know that I can do this. And so I think it's just helping kids understand and work on that framing and understand perspective.
I love that you said it's worth noting that you still, I mean, everybody still wrestles with this. And I think it's really, you have to be authentic with the kids you're coaching and say like, I get how this feels. I understand. Nat, I see you nodding your head. What's your take?
To me, I think if you're not pushing yourself and if you're not getting outside your comfort zone, then you're going to fall if you're doing those things. Like you're going to stumble, you're going to mess up. It's not going to look pretty at first, but I think that that's the way that you do grow. So I think it's about letting the kids learn that. And I think for me, even as a coach, when I, started coaching, I was like, there's so many different levels. How do I work with all this? Like, and it was, about realizing that, okay, some are going to take it easy, some are going to learn it way easier and some aren't. But I think it was really about instilling in them that like, hey, if you're trying hard, like keep trying hard because you fell, but that means like you were pushing it. And I think that that's the only way that they're going to get better. And I mean, look at our practices, we're flying all over the ice sometimes, but the little kids, like it's awesome to see because you watch them fall 4 times and on the 5th time they maybe get it, and I think it's about celebrating those little things and celebrating when they do get it, and making sure they know that like they overcame, the hump of maybe not being able to do it and pulled through and accomplished, a goal they had set for that practice.
Blayre, do you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, I'll just add that I think a huge part in all of that is making sure that the kids you're coaching or the players you're coaching, they can relate to you. So whenever, like we're still playing, but we also all still coach, I think it's important for the kids to know that we make mistakes too, just like them. We're not perfect. We don't have superpowers. And just like them, when they're trying to pick up a new skill, or if they can't really understand how a drill works, we still make those mistakes too. So I think if, as a coach, you can be relatable to the players, and if you're creating that environment where they trust you, they trust that you're not going to judge them if they fail when they're trying to learn something new, then they're going to be more willing to take those risks that'll improve them as hockey players and as people.
So on sort of a practical level, Troy, I'll go to you. If coaches out there are looking to create practice environments, training environments that are trying to develop high-level athletes, eventually maybe with the end desire being Team Canada players, is there anything practical you could offer advice-wise?
Yeah, I think so. Kori's going to laugh at this word I'm going to use, but we've tried, and it's along with the last, all those answers that were just made. Like if you look up the word iterative, so iterative drawings, iterative writing, like, and she's laughing because I got her to used this word in a presentation one time and she struggled with it. But she got it the second time. So it's really about creating that type of environment where athletes, coaches, everybody feels they can try something. If they don't succeed right away, they learn from it, go on to the next, try it again. And just creating that type of environment, I think, allows people to develop in a safe environment, but ultimately achieve great skills. Like, a lot of times we get our group together and it's constantly a tryout with the national women's team. Like, everybody's constantly pit against each other. So you really have to create an environment where how do they advance in that type of environment when it's in a tryout setting? It's so easy to play it safe because you don't want to try something a little bit more risky. So we've tried to encourage this group to try things because we need to improve. Coaches need to improve. Players need to improve. And the only way we're going to get better is if we do have a little bit of an iterative approach with it and learning as we go. But you can't do that unless you create a safe environment.
Kori. Iterative.
I'll never live it down, I don't think. That would be along the lists of, when Troy asked me to do some reading out loud, I was like, the whole camp, I was like, I got to get better at reading out loud. So I didn't mess it up the second time around.
And I couldn't do it. I got you to do it because I couldn't say the word properly myself. So I was pushing it off on you.
Well, it's a good laugh now. And I think it's kind of one of those moments too, where it's like, hey, I'm a coach, but I can make mistakes in front of the group and we can all kind of laugh about it. And I bring it up later and poke fun at myself. And I think that is a big piece to it too. You can't take yourself too seriously. You have to be able to laugh it off sometimes.
I wholeheartedly agree. Otherwise, yeah, you're in trouble. Kori, I'll stay with you for this one. Do you think coaches should focus more on skill or tactical development, or if there's a shift at sort of what time does that start? What age does that start to shift for you?
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of model you're looking at. If you're looking at the hockey development model, or if you're looking at your association and kind of what they're providing at the different ages. But I think it's so important to build that foundation of the technical skill first. I go into the rinks and I see like a U13 team and they're practicing their power play, but they can't string two passes together. So that tells me that maybe we need to take a step back and start working on the technical skills of passing and timing before we get into that tactical approach of the power play. But it's definitely going to change depending on how old you are, what age level you're at. And I think that, this is where I think that coaching development is so important as well. And really taking the time, if you are a coach, to get informed, take professional development sessions, get your levels done, because this structural seasonal plan is just so important for your athletes to develop and learn at the same curve as their peers, to have success down the road. You might not be the best team in October, but maybe by the time you're playing in April, because you spent some time on building those foundational pieces, that power play is going to come through for you in the end when you really need it to. So I think, I encourage everybody to be curious, be creative, ask questions, ask your peers, ask other coaches. I think something that I really learned from COVID was that, I had the opportunity to chat with coaches through the whole thing, being over Zoom, where in a regular year, we probably wouldn't have time to do that. So I tried to pick people's brains. I tried to take information as much as I could. And then I put it together based on the knowledge that I have of a seasonal plan. And I try to get a little bit creative with it as well. So I think it's just about asking questions and leaning on the people around you, because they can really help. And there's no secrets in hockey, right? It's just having those relationships and who executes the best at the end of the day. So feel free to reach out to your peers, and it'll only make you better as a coach.
One more quick practical question. I'll direct at Troy, and then I will end with Blayre, Nat, and Sarah. But Troy, people are very interested to talk about film. At what age do you think players should start to look at film, or should coaches be offering that?
Yeah, I wouldn't get into it too much at an early age. you know, I think at Pee Wee and Bantam and those sorts of levels, I think you could start to dabble in it a little bit, but I don't think I would go as an instructional piece. I would probably just share little clips from time to time. Like with us, you know, at the national team level, like we obviously do video sessions, but some of the best teaching, I think, or best learning for us is that, you know, as coaches, we'll just share a clip that we see and we'll discuss it. And then a player or an athlete will send me something and say, hey, what about this? So sometimes it doesn't need to be a 30 or a 45-minute session and make it too much like school, but just sharing information when we do see things that may align with what we're trying to do. And I think that can be done at a very, very early age, just to help them build that hockey sense.
Thanks for that. And I'm going to end by asking, well, Blayre, maybe I'll start with you, but I'll ask all three of you the same question. We know that girls don't stay in sport. We know that the fall off rate is pretty high. So how are we encouraging girls out there to stick with the sport and keep coming back every fall?
I think a big part of that is making sure that those girls who are maybe thinking about quitting sports, they have a reason to stay. And to me, creating connections that are meaningful and creating meaningful relationships with their teammates and their coaching staff and people who they see at the rink or in their other sport arenas. I think those relationships need to be meaningful and they need to give the kid a reason to want to come back. I think we all touched on how fun hockey was for us as kids, and it still is today. But I think ensuring that the kids are having fun while they're learning and while they continue to grow is also huge. So I think those two things, having fun, creating that environment of learning blended with fun, but also making sure the kids are creating and establishing personal relationships that make them want to come back to the rink every hockey season.
Thanks, Blayre. Nat, I'll go to you.
I would say the exact same thing as Blayre, like make sure, you know, they want to be there. They're having fun when they're there and they look forward to it. The other thing I would add to that is exposing them to role models. I mean, and as a coach, you can be that role model that, you know, your player wants to work hard for you because they look up to you, or maybe it's someone else you get to come in and run a practice, whatever it is. I think, you know, for me, when I was 11, I met Jennifer Botterill and I saw her gold medal and that was it for me. I was like, oh, I was hooked on being like Jennifer Botterill. So I think like there's those moments where for girls that you can really, you know, shift their perspective or get them, you know, that in their mind that that's what they want to be and there's no stopping them, or, you know, they want to come and work hard every day. And so it's about, you know, I think that having female role models, and now, I mean, it's much easier to have, you know, to have access to more women playing sports and realizing that's okay. And I know a lot of girls around, you know, 11, 12 drop out when, you know, puberty hits or when their bodies are changing. So exposing them to those role models is going to let them know that, hey, your body looks just like hers and it's fine. It's good to have muscles. It's good to be strong. You don't, you know, keep pushing hard and keep working hard and you'll keep developing and it's going to help you in your game.
Thanks, Nat. And last but not least, before we wrap things up, Sarah, how do we keep girls coming back every year?
Well, those were all fabulous answers. Took most of my main points, so thanks, guys. But I think just to go piggyback off of all of that, like empowering our girls. I know that when we were growing up, and times have definitely changed with females in sports, but we were placed in a box, and it was like, if you want to be an athlete, if you want to be a hockey player, like this is what you do, this is what you look like, this is how you should act. And I think that we need to empower our girls to really be whatever they want to be. I know, like, I'm stereotypically more girly, as they would say. And like growing up, that wasn't always cool. People are like, you play hockey, but you also like to wear dresses. That doesn't make any sense. And so I feel like we need to empower our girls to like what they like, do what they do. And that's going to keep them encouraged to keep with sports, because if they feel that they don't fit in, they're not going to want to play. And I think ultimately, like, you just want to keep sports being cool. And so if you create that family environment, which I know that I've been mentoring some girls. I know that Blayre and Natalie have also, who are about 15 years old, and they all talk so highly about how their hockey team is like their second family, and they feel so comfortable and so safe with their coaches and the other players. And that's what's going to keep people wanting to play hockey.
Well, thank you to all of you. This was incredible. Lots and lots of information and just lots of things to note, even just as a human, not a coach. So thank you, all of you, for that. I'm going to bring in the general manager of Canada's national women's team, Gina Kingsbury, to say a couple of words before we give some stuff away. Gina.
Perfect. Thanks, Tara. Wow. It never gets old listening to our people speak. I took a bunch of notes, and some great messages delivered by all of you guys. So really good job. First and foremost, I want to recognize what you guys were able to bring here on this panel. But I do want to thank Tara for being the voice and giving up your time to offer this to coaches across our country, and especially in Nova Scotia. I know you do a lot for women's hockey, so I wanted to make sure that you know that we really do appreciate that, and it doesn't go unnoticed for sure. Savannah, phenomenal job putting this together, getting this group together to be able to have an impact on coaches and just to be able to share their expertise and their time. We love the relationship we have with Nova Scotia hockey. I think Nova Scotia hockey is a leader in women's hockey. And you guys do such a fantastic job that, we would love all of our provinces to follow your way of emphasizing and highlighting the women's game, which I think is fantastic. So wanted to thank you as well on that. And for all the coaches that joined in, we know you have an impact on a daily basis. We understand that you signed up for this to listen to, the experts speak on their experience, and it shows that you're committed to grow our game and to have a positive impact on the women's game. So we really, truly appreciate that on behalf of Hockey Canada. Thanks for joining us. A couple other things I just wanted to mention. Just one, I think you might have somewhat felt it, the energy on this panel, but we are thrilled to be able to compete at a World Championship here coming up in the next couple months. Our entire group are really excited. Not only our Nova Scotians, we've got a few in our group, but everyone, not only to participate at a World Championship, but to do it on home soil and to do in Nova Scotia. We know the energy is going to be, even though there may or may not be fans, we don't know yet. We know the energy around our group will help us perform, and we hope to make everyone proud here in May 6th to the 16th in Nova Scotia. So I wanted to say that a few words on that. So I'll pass it back to Savannah, I believe, for the possibly the winners of tonight's contest. But thanks, everyone.
Actually, me just to announce some winners. And Gina, I have to second that. Being from Nova Scotia, I know what an incredible, hospitable place it is and how excited everybody is. And so it is truly, especially for right now, the perfect home for the Worlds in May. So I wish I could get there, but I'll be watching and cheering. So we have a few things to give away. These are, first of all, we have a Hockey Canada hat, and that will go to Wes Wolf. Congratulations, Wes. We have, you get a round of applause. A Hockey Canada bag goes to Teresa Phillips. Congratulations to you. And a Hockey Canada jersey goes to Stacy Rimmer. So congratulations to all our winners. Thanks again to all of our panelists. And thank you for having me. And I truly am very, very honored to have been participating in this. So I'm going to hand it over to Teal, I think, before it goes back to Savannah. Teal, are you there?
No, I'm just going to take over for the end.
Oh, it's you.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Tara, you have been absolutely amazing. We are so grateful you were able to join us. Obviously, thank you, Gina, for being on here as well. Kori, Troy, Sarah, Blayre, and Natalie, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us and share your expertise and experience. I know when we were organizing this event, I was incredibly excited to organize, but also I was mostly excited to just be here myself and learn from all of you incredible people. So thank you so much for that. Thank you to all of our guests and viewers who took time out of their night to come learn and help better women's hockey. Just something I'll leave you guys with. The mission of the women's national team is leave a footprint and legacy wherever they go. And I believe this event tonight has ensured that they're well on their way of doing that. So stay tuned for upcoming events. Thank you so much, everyone. This now concludes our National Women's Team Coaches Hot Stove.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.